You're watching Oilers Nation Everyday with Tyler Yaremchuk. Your one-stop shop for all things Oilers.
Scenario, you wake up in a hospital. It's today, December 31st. The doctor says you've been in a coma for a full year, all of 2024. Your first question, who do the Oilers play tonight? He turns to you and says, a team from Utah. You go, a team from Utah? Let's get into it with the lead. That was kind of dumb. Not ending 2024 on my highest note. I'm willing to accept that. Welcome into Oilers Nation Every Day. The show is a presentation of Bet365. Download the app today. Use the promo code NATION, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. We come to you live from the Sports Closet studio, as we always do, and the most damning level of hate I could get on that lead is Waz saying that's Waz level shit. That sucks. That wasn't good. On that note, we bring in Liam Horrobin, my co-host of this fine program, who has a cool Detroit Lions helmet in his background. Hello.
Yeah, upgrades have happened. I have my Lions helmet, and King Charles has made the shelf. So big upgrades over Christmas.
Pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. Happy New Year. Game day for the Edmonton Oilers. Sherwood Ford Giant Game Day edition of the program, I may add. And we got a little something going on. We got Cole Bagley joining us. He is a digital insider for KSL Sports out in Utah. Covers the team really well. I had him on DFO Live, I think about a month ago now. He's really good. He'll join us, give us the other side of tonight's matchup. Jay will be around at 12:40. We'll do our game day betting challenge and our keys to victory. And oh, how about this? Give the show some legitimacy. A super chat from Original Pozar. 2024 was a fantastic year for the Oilers, and we know only one thing will make 2025 even better. Thank you for the super chat. All of your super chats in support of the Ben Stelter Foundation. They are going to a good cause, and we couldn't think of a better charity to partner with for our super chats. But Liam, the Oilers trying to get back on the rails here after a pretty rough run through the state of California. How confident are you that this team's going to be in a good spot tonight?
Pretty confident. I think the recent home record would lead you to believe they'll be fine. I don't think that was the Oilers. Obviously, what we've seen from them the last couple of weeks over the weekends. So I think they'll be able to bounce back tonight. Yeah,
I agree. Like I think it was when they played Tampa Bay a few years ago, and there was some line. The Bolts were coming in on back-to-back losses, and I think it was Tampa Bay sending, or was the one saying it, and it was like, hey, good teams lose back-to-back games. Great teams don't lose 3 in a row. And I think that's how you got to view this one if you're an Oilers fan. It's like, hey, you're going to lose back-to-back games throughout the year, and you picked up a point against LA, so it's not like a totally lost road trip. At least you scooped up the one and managed to milk something out of it. But if you're a truly great team, if you're one of the elite teams in the NHL, you don't lose to Utah tonight. You find a way to, honestly, not just win, but kind of really get back in the win column and do it with some level of authority. And that's kind of what I'm expecting tonight. We'll get to all of that with game notes. We got our keys to victory. Like I said, the betting challenge, also some breaking news to start the show, if you want to call it that. Jesse Puljujarvi has cleared waivers. Liam, are you stunned? Are you shocked? Are you going to be able to make it through the show?
You can probably tell by the look of my face how surprised I am. I can't believe it. Jesse Puljujarvi. Who would have thought, the former 4th overall pick? But I did see some Penguins fans yesterday actually being like, his points per 60 is like 12th on the team or something like that. I was like, wow, very impressive stuff from Jesse Puljujarvi. So, he somehow managed to trick those Penguins fans too, the analytic darlings over there. So it is what it is. I hope he can find his way, but it won't be in Edmonton.
I am starting to think it's not happening in the NHL.
Yeah,
but I digress from that. We don't need to spend any time on Jesse Puljujarvi today because it is a game day for the Edmonton Oilers. And like I said, all the game day stuff coming in a little bit. But I wanted to start with a different conversation, Liam. Yesterday on 32 Thoughts, Elliot Friedman tossing it out there that the Oilers are interested or will be interested in signing Ty Amberson to an extension when the calendar flips to 2025. If you don't know the way that rule works, it's basically if you're on a 1-year deal, you're not eligible to sign an extension until the calendar flips. So you can't sign a 1-year deal on July 1st and then immediately sign an extension, because that would be a way to circumvent the cap, I guess. So Amberson's eligible basically midnight tonight to sign an extension with the Oilers if he wants to, if they want to. And, Maynard in the chat right now says it's a no-brainer. And I agree. Like, it's absolutely a no-brainer. I wrote a piece. You can read it all up on the site right now. And I included my prediction at the end, which I'll get to. But Liam, when you consider, okay, they bring him in the Cody Ceci deal, and it was kind of apparent right from the jump in that deal that, like, hey, this isn't just a guy that they're getting to balance out the contracts or whatever. They clearly saw something in Ty Amberson, 24 years old, coming off his first season in the NHL, call it first half season. He only played 30-some odd games. Before that, it was a few years in the AHL. He won a big award down there, played with Chris Knobloch in Hartford for a season as well. Where would you like to see them come out on Ty Amberson? Is this something where if it's extension eligible Jan 1, you're like, hey, just give him another year. Let's extend this thing and kind of keep the experiment rolling? Or do you want to see them maybe push it a little bit with some serious term?
I think you just got to go a minimum of 2 years, and then whatever is around, if they go beyond that, that's fine too. I don't think you can go 1 year with him. He's a guy you probably want to get in around maybe between 1.5, 1.7, somewhere in there. If it's a 2 or 3 year deal, like, you need to get some value out of him, because at the end of the day, if in that second year of his contract he's a top 4 defenseman for you and he's making less than $2 million, then you've got an absolute bargain on your hands. And he's done really well since he's come in. Obviously, start of the season, the guy who was kind of rotated in and out of the lineup with Dermott and Stetcher, and now has just cemented himself in that top 6 role and even like a top 4 role in moments too. Reliable on the penalty kill. You could argue when he started going on the penalty kill with Ekholm, that's when it really started to turn around. A couple of fights as well this year. Like, he's been a great addition. I think another thing to consider too is, like, when people are saying like what's that guy's name? Epiphany. I knew I had it in my head somewhere. 2 or 3 years. Like, I think one thing to think about is when the Oilers got rid of Cody Ceci, he had a 3-point whatever deal, right?
Yeah.
The Oilers don't want to go that high for a guy who might be a bottom pairing defenseman for them. I think they really want to keep the value as low as they can.
Yeah, so let's get to a couple of comments here over in the YouTube chat, brought to you by our friends at Odd Company and the all-new Nation Beer Everyday Lager, a crisp, clean lager crafted not just for game day, just today, by the way, but every day. You can pick it up by going to liquorconnect.com, typing in Nation Beer, and a map will pop up. It'll show you everywhere around you that you can have Nation Beer and what liquor stores have it in stock. You can also just go direct to the source, one of the 2 Odd Company locations in Edmonton, their brewery downtown, their brewery out in the Ritchie area. Here's a couple of your comments. Let's start with this one. No more than 1.75 because he will ultimately become the 7th defenseman. Come trade deadline, I think we lock in on a top 4 D-man with term from just Sam. Here's where I'll disagree with that a little bit. You're shopping at the deadline for Troy Stetcher's replacement. You're not shopping at the deadline for Ty Amberson's replacement. I think the when healthy dream blue line for this team is Bouchard Ekholm, Darnell Nurse with a very nice high-end number 4 next to him, and then it's Kulak and Amberson as your third pairing that you feel confident starting in the D zone. Honestly, feel confident with them in any area of the ice, but I think Amberson is your 6, even if you go get someone. Like, you're not trying to replace Amberson in the lineup because he deserves to stay in with the way he's played over the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, totally. I wouldn't be looking to move him out of the lineup, to be honest. I think a couple of weeks ago we did, or at least I did on O&R, talk about, like, who do you take out, him or Stetcher? But it was more of like a compliment to the way both of them had been playing rather than one playing worse than the other. But I think these last few games, just coming back from the break, and I know we said too, like, those games over the weekend aren't who they really are, but Stetcher for me is clearly the 6th best defenseman, and you can't keep playing him in that top 4 role. He's doing fine, but you need just to upgrade on that. And I even think moving Ty Amberson just into that top 4 role is an upgrade. And Epiphany said there too, got that one right. Stetcher doesn't even play on the PK. You need guys like Amberson in the lineup. He's too important now, I think.
Yeah. Adam is in and says 3 by 1.5 would be a dream. I feel a 3 by 1.75 coming, or sorry, a 2 by 1.75 coming. Original Pozar, who's watching the show live today. Hello, I think he's usually a podcast guy. Get the 3 by 1.65 million Amberson deal done. Take away the injury risk. If he gets hurt and doesn't play 50 games this year, he becomes a Group 6 UFA. That is very smart as well. You want to keep him under some kind of term. Y2 Bay says 3 by 1.75. Maynard says if you can get him for less than Vinny money, it's a home run. So where it's a little bit different than Vinny. So Vinny, when he signed his deal with Vancouver, had played, what would that be, 114 regular season games. So I guess by the end of this season, that is going to be right where Amberson is around actual NHL experience. Who knows how much he plays in the playoffs? Vinny did have 28 playoff games under his belt. And the other thing is, Vinny is signed that as a 28-year-old, right? Ty Amberson's going to be signing that at a younger age with less experience. So he'll be signing as a 21-year-old, or sorry, Jesus, a 25-year-old this offseason. So where I would go with Amberson is, like, OP talked about the injury risk on like becoming a Group 6 UFA. I think that's fair. But also for Amberson, you've only played 100 and some NHL games by the end of the season. At this point, you're still sitting under 100 at around 60 some. If you go to him and say, hey, we want to give you a 3-year deal, it's going to pay you $1.6 million a year. For a guy who, again, a year ago he hadn't even cracked an NHL lineup yet, really. If you go to that guy and say, here's $4.8 million guaranteed, and you're going to get to be a UFA at age 28, and you're going to get to play playoff games, which we know how much playoff hockey can boost up the value of a shutdown defense first defenseman, however you want to describe him. If you go to him and say $4.8 million guaranteed, 3 years of security of being in the NHL, plus the upside of getting to be on a Stanley Cup contender, I have a hard time believing he would turn that down. And for the Oilers, if you're sitting there going, well, 1.6 is a risk, like blah, blah, I don't think there's that much risk. If he ends up being your number 6 defenseman, and let's just say he plateaus and doesn't get any better, is anyone complaining about 1.6 million for a third pairing defenseman? Maybe it's 500K too rich, but it's not the end of the world. And if he ends up hitting, and let's say he has a great playoff run, you don't want what happened to Broberg to happen, where Amberson goes and plays great in the playoffs for 2 weeks, and then you're sitting there being like, oh shit, now he's $3 million because there's a market for him and whatever. Like, get him locked in now. If he grows into a top 4 D-man, you're getting dirt cheap value for 2 more years. Honestly, if he takes 3 years, Liam, I'd be willing to go to $2 million.
I think too, with the cap going up, like, I wouldn't. I would have to figure it out on a math level, and that's just not what our show's about, as we all know. What the equivalent would be like under this cap, like 2 million. Was that probably at 1.6, maybe? You know what I'm trying to say? Picking a lot of million down. So yeah, I really don't think. I think it's a win-win for both sides. Whatever, if you can get him under $2 million, to be honest.
Got to factor in inflation, I think, is what smart people say, right?
Yeah, and then also the fact that you get taxed in every state that you play in. There's a lot of layers here. I didn't get a calculator for Christmas, so we're kind of screwed.
If the Canadian dollar keeps shit in the bed, I mean, you're getting US dollars to live in Canada. That's like an extra 30-40% right now.
Yeah, maybe we should get into the election a little bit and look at what both sides could provide for the economy.
Well, I know our next guest would love to chime in. No, I'm kidding. We're not going to ask anyone to chime in on the election today. But on that note, let's put this conversation off to the side. We'll continue the game day fun a little bit later. But for now, let's go out to the Star Mechanical guest line. It's Edmonton's #1 plumbing and heating company. You can find out more about them online at starmechanical.ca, whether it's residential, commercial, 24/7 emergency services. Star Mechanical does it well. They've been doing it well for north of 20 years in the Edmonton area. One of Edmonton's largest locally owned and operated businesses is Star Mechanical, as we bring in Cole Bagley, digital insider for KSL Sports in Utah. Pleasure to welcome you into the show here on a game day. You're in Edmonton, right?
Not for this one. Not Edmonton for this one. Yeah, the Seattle Edmonton was a little bit tough to do, but still providing full coverage and speaking with some of the players and stuff and whatnot. So yeah, unfortunately not able to make it out there, but it is a destination that I've circled, hopefully to make it out there this year.
Yeah, maybe come when there's like a road game in like March or April. But don't right now. You're good. You're really not missing much. But I guess you're from Utah. You're used to a little bit of snow and cold. Let's just kind of start with that. I mean, how much fun are you having being on the beat here for Utah? And what have you made of just the way the market and the fan base has reacted to Utah having a team?
Yeah, it's been a dream come true for me, to be honest. Growing up in Salt Lake City, I was first exposed to hockey during the 2002 Winter Olympics and fell in love with the sport immediately, started following the NHL from a young age. Actually was a Penguins fan, and still love Sidney Crosby and all that good stuff. So, but to have a team here in Salt Lake City has been absolutely unbelievable. And what's been most encouraging, I think, is to see people who aren't as familiar with the sport just fully embrace it. If you were to go to the grocery store, or you're pumping gas, or you're at a restaurant, you're going to see Utah Hockey Club swag. You're going to see the hats. You're going to see the jerseys. The team set records in jersey sales. They had people lining up at 4 a.m, but they didn't even open until like 8 or 9 a.m. So pretty crazy, pretty phenomenal. I've talked with a lot of fans who have never watched the game before, but they're falling in love with it immediately. They're preferring it, as their team now here in Salt Lake City, and so it's been so much fun. One of the greatest honors of my life to cover this team in their inaugural season. So we'll see how things continue. It's been a season of highs and lows, but that's kind of what we anticipated. Based off the things that Bill Armstrong said. I think right before the season, he said there's going to be nights where they look like a team that could win the Stanley Cup, and there's going to be nights where you sit back and you go, whoa, this team's a little bit young and got a ways to go. And I think that's kind of been the stretch that they've had over the last 4.
Well, let me go there then. I remember early in the season, Utah gets off to this great start. I chatted with you on Daily Face-Off Live. I think it was kind of 5-6 weeks ago, and they'd kind of hit the skids a little bit, and then they get hot. And now it's 4 in a row. What's been the main thing that's kind of plaguing them and causing these inconsistencies?
I think it's just a young team that's figuring the ins and outs of the NHL. They're figuring out what it takes to win and what it takes to produce consistency on a nightly basis. 2 of their best players are 20 and 21 years old, Logan Cooley and Dylan Guenther, who I think have superstar potential. But, it's sometimes that emotion is getting the best of them. And if you look at their home record and their away record, they've only got 5 wins at home where they have 11 on the road. And I think part of that is, and some of the, some things that the players have talked about, and coach, is at times they let their emotions get the best of them. They allow teams to kind of get under their skin. I think we saw that last night against the Kraken, who are a scrappy team, not necessarily the most talented, but, they were able to irritate Utah effectively. Lawson Krause, took a kind of a retaliation penalty. Logan Cooley was getting involved in some scraps and whatnot, and Utah was caught sleeping. Ended up, losing, 5-2 in a game that was close, that was tight. And coach talked about it afterwards. They need to figure out how to be more mature, how to realize, hey, it's a tie game. We don't have to force the issue. We don't have to press like we're trailing. Let's just play our game. And so I think with time and more maturity, you're going to see this hockey team become dangerous, but it's going to take some more time. And I expect, the ups and downs to continue, and hopefully next season with some more growth, and, as they can get some of these injured, players back, and John Marino and Sean Dursey, Maverick Lamoureux, while also adding some more from their prospect pool, Utah has a very bright future. But that's the key, right? It's future. It's not right now.
How's Michael Kesselring doing this year? He's a name Oilers fans familiar with, obviously a former prospect, and also I think a bit disappointed he's not in Edmonton right now too.
That was quite the move from Bill Armstrong, to move Bukestad and end up with him back on the roster, as well as, bring in Michael Kesselring. And I think he's been kind of a diamond in the rough type player. I think he's top 5 or 6 in terms of production. He had a Gordie Howe hat trick a couple weeks ago. And I think he's just been pretty surprisingly good offensively and, consistent defensively. He likes to get in on the rush. A lot of times he's carrying the puck through the neutral zone and into the O-zone, creating offense. He's scoring goals. He's got a heck of a shot that I actually was not as familiar with or aware of. But, he can light the lamp. He can find his teammates. He plays a strong defensive game. And so I think moving forward, he's going to be, one of the top 4 defensemen for this squad, for the foreseeable future.
Another guy with local ties is Dylan Guenther. He got the big ticket before the start of this season, and that front office is banking on him becoming a star. He's certainly shown flashes of it, but what have you made of Dylan Guenther as he continues to adjust and develop at the NHL level?
He's got a heck of a shot. I mean, the way that he can just get it off his stick, um, lightning quick is unbelievable. Before the goalie has a chance to react, and I think we're seeing the evolution of Gunther's game, and that the front office is looking pretty smart. With the contract they were able to secure him down for over the next 8 years. He's got, I think, a team high 16 goals. And for me, kind of the turning point this season for him was, he came out of the gates hot. I think he had 5 goals in the first 3 games. But then he experienced, I want to say, 7 or 8 game drought where he wasn't able to put the puck in the net. But while I was watching him during that stretch and seeing him try to figure it out, I think he's learned how to adjust to defenses. When you score that many goals in short order, you're going to be, the other team is going to know that you're coming. They're going to be planning for you. They're going to be watching for you. You're going to be on the scouting report and up towards the top. And good elite goal scorers find ways to light the lamp despite, strong responses from the defense. We've seen that from guys like, look at Alexander Ovechkin. Everybody knows where he's going to shoot from, but he still scores every night because he's able to lose himself in the defense, get open, and the team, adjusts and makes sure that they find him. Utah has done that, and Dylan Gunther has done that. During that cold streak, he was kind of waiting for the puck and the play to come to him, whereas now, if you pay closer attention to him, and it helps that he's got Logan Cooley on his line because Logan, demands so much attention from the defense. Dylan is constantly moving. He's circling. He's going, he's doing figure eights. He's getting lost in the defense, and he's finding openings to get to his spots and shoot the puck. Plus, he's working hard and getting greasy goals. He's scoring, in close. He's scoring in the slot. He's scoring from the faceoff circles. He's doing whatever it takes. And so the evolution of Gunther and Cooley, I think, is what should have Utah fans most excited, is because those two complement each other so well, and they're already leading this team in terms of points, and they're so young. So it's very exciting.
Last one I got for you is just kind of a bit of a look ahead. Utah got themselves back into the mix, we can call it, with that little heater before the Christmas break. And when you look, projected to have, they have $9.3 million in cap space right now. I'm looking at the number of draft picks they have on Puckpedia, and it's like, okay, they got a ton of picks. And I know the sentiment's always kind of been like, hey, you can't make all those picks because there's only room for so many prospects in an organization. Is Bill Armstrong kind of in a spot where he's going to be buying no matter what at this deadline simply because selling for mid-round picks doesn't do anything?
Yeah, I think Utah is shifting towards being buyers. And at media day before the season started, he even said that they are in a sense shifting more towards being more aggressive because of what you just said. You can't just keep on tallying up draft picks, because at the end of the day, there's so many roster spots, there's so many prospect spots, and they've done a really good job over the last few years of going through that process, right? Logan Cooley, Dylan Gunther are turning out. They've got guys like Daniil Boat. They've got Simashev. Unfortunately, TJ Ginla got hurt this year, but he's, bright prospect. Cole Bagley, in the juniors. So the prospects are there. And so it is time to start becoming buyers. It's time to start looking at it and going, like they did with Sergachev. I think that's the perfect example of where this team is headed. Yeah, they're shifting. They're trying to take this step out of the rebuild. They're trying to make the playoffs. They're trying to turn into buyers and start putting together a championship roster. But we're just at the start of that. And so, yes, I think they will be, buyers, more so than sellers in the upcoming, trade deadline. I wouldn't be shocked if, nothing, happens completely. But moving forward, this team is looking to buy more than sell, because that's the way that they're trending.
Just quickly, one more, because it popped into my head. You brought up Mikhail Sergachev there. How beautiful is that trade working out? I'm just looking right now. NHL.com, he's 25.49 per night. Only Zach Werenski plays more. The on-ice numbers are great. The production is there. This is a guy, he's probably not going to win the Norris, but I think he might get some top 5 votes the way he's playing.
He has been a perfect fit for the Utah Hockey Club. Bill Armstrong did a phenomenal job, looking at the roster, looking at the assets that he had, and he was calling teams going, I need a top defenseman. And Tampa decided, to give up Sergachev, and it has been a perfect fit. And it's interesting, right? He's only 26, but I feel like he plays a lot older than that. I feel like, with winning 2 Stanley Cups and playing for a team like Tampa for so many years, he has matured so quickly. It's almost like he's 30 to 32 in my mind, but he's only 26, and he's been unbelievable. He's been a true warrior, playing that many minutes, and it doesn't appear to be wearing on him. Like every night, he's bringing the full energy. He's playing his game. He's calm. He's collected. But in moments, he knows how to, be effective in so many different ways. And what I love the most too is, coming into this year, he was asked quite a bit, and I asked him too. Are you looking to be a leader on this team? And kind of in true Sergachev fashion, is I don't really think about that. I'm going to try to be who I am. I'm going to bring my game, but because of what he's done, he's earned himself an A on his sweater, and I think it's perfect. The way that he goes about things is the exact type of leadership that Utah needs from someone with an A on their sweater. He's producing offensively. He's making big plays, defensively. He's throwing his body in front of shots, taking pucks off of his helmet, taking pucks off of his leg. And, then he's scoring game winners. Like a defenseman has 2 game winners this year, one against Montreal, one against Vancouver. Sergachev is incredible. And, I just think everything that Armstrong is doing is just really lifting this team to new heights. And it's very exciting. For a fan base that isn't as familiar with hockey, Utah has absolutely fallen in love with Sergachev, and I can't blame them.
Yeah, love it. And tonight, Sergachev's task will be shutting down 97-29 in orange and blue. Cole, enjoy the game tonight, and maybe we'll see you in town in March. That is the next time Utah rolls into Edmonton. Thanks for doing this.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, guys.
See ya.
There you go. Cole Bagley is a digital insider for KSL Sports in Utah, does a great job covering the team, and I think every Edmonton media outlet asked him for an appearance today. I saw he was on with the big program, Liam, Sports 1440 earlier today.
Oh, that's why I wasn't on. Cole took my spot.
Okay, let's keep cruising along, Liam. Let's get to some game notes brought to you by Sober Carpenter. Fire up that ad read, AB. And I only said that because I didn't click the ad read on my end. So I'm buying time right now to let you all know that Game Notes is brought to you by Sober Carpenter Craft Beer Reimagined. This year, Sober Carpenter celebrates 5 years of brewing award-winning non-alcoholic craft beer. From hoppy IPAs to rich Irish Reds, they've got the flavor without the buzz. Find Sober Carpenter at Sobeys, Loblaws, or at sobercarpenter.com. It's also available at your favorite liquor stores across Alberta. Cheers to 5 years of staying true to the craft. Sober Carpenter, for those who sip different. Liam, you handled game notes over today at the site. What do you got for me?
I got a couple of good ones. So the Oilers against expansion teams or new teams to the league, whatever we want to call them, on their first visit to Edmonton, do you remember the last time the Oilers lost to a new team?
I'm pretty sure they beat Vegas because that was like the Dylan Ferguson game, I want to say, where like for some reason Vegas had 90 goalie injuries. They had the kid from Kamloops in his Blazers gear come in because the Oilers were throttling them. So then before that, well, I guess Seattle's in the middle there, but I want to say they beat Seattle, and you wouldn't be asking me the question if they would have lost to Seattle. So we can go back a step further than that to the Columbus-Nashville round of expansion. Is that where we're at?
That is incorrect. The Oilers, so the Oilers obviously will play Utah for the first time tonight. So they beat Seattle, beat Vegas, beat Columbus, beat Minnesota, beat Atlanta, beat Nashville. So that's 6.
Whoa.
The last time was 1994, when, of course, they lost to the Florida Panthers, when Dave Lowry scored the game winner. Unbelievable.
Wow. So they are on a 6-game heater against new franchises.
Yeah, over, what's that? 30 years? Is that 30? 94? Yeah, that's 30 years. Damn.
Yeah, it is, because you and I are born in the 90s, and we're almost 30, Liam.
Well, that's not good.
Nope. That's depressing.
Another one I have is Michael Kesselring. Obviously, we mentioned him there with our new friend. Taking a bit of an elevated role because of the injuries that Utah's had on the blue line. Obviously, Sean Dursey, John Marino, both out. Michael Kesselring, for defensemen that have played over 400 minutes in the league, he is second, has the second fewest goals against at 5-on-5. He's only been on the ice for 11 5-on-5 goals against this season. And I believe, if I'm remembering off the top of my head, he's about 23, 22 goals for. So it's around a 66% goals for against percentage. The best in the NHL, I don't know if I want to tell you guys, but I'm going to have to. Is Philip Robic. Moving on to the to the other game note I have. It's probably the best too. Oh, there was kind of some news today. I guess this is I didn't write this in the game notes, but it looks like Jeff Skinner will actually be back in the lineup tonight. I'm not sure what the other lines are going to look like, but that was kind of the big note because yesterday, obviously, we spoke with Louis, and it didn't look like Jeff Skinner was going to play, but it looked like he was taking it pretty well and looking to work on his game and get back in the lineup. But tonight, the Oilers will shake things up a little bit and bring him back in, which I actually think is the right decision. I think the Oilers need to figure out how to score a few more goals, and Jeff Skinner can certainly help you do that if you put him in a good spot.
I agree with you. I got one more game note, then we'll get to tonight's lineup. Utah, very inconsistent. We touched on it with Cole. They've had 2 winning streaks already this year of 3 games or more, but they've also had 3 losing streaks of 3 games or more. That is a big, big part of their first 30-some-odd games that have been tied up in either winning streaks or losing streaks.
I actually have one more, which I thought was very interesting. So the Utah is coming into Edmonton on a 4-game losing streak, but their penalty kill over that streak is still at 92%. They have I think their penalty kill overall, I've got it right here, 89.2 on the season. And even when they're losing games, it's not based off defensive work. It's because they simply cannot score.
Mm-hmm. Damn. Okay, let's get to the lineup report for tonight. Liam, starting with the Edmonton Oilers. Connor McDavid expected to center Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Zach Hyman once again tonight. Jeff Skinner is coming in. I don't think he's going to work his way into the top 6, though, so it'll stay Draisaitl, Podkolzin, and Arvidsson. The third line, Henrique, Connor Brown, and Shrug. It might be Kasperi Kapanen there. It might be Janmark going to the 4th line, taking out Derek Ryan. The bottom line is we don't know, Liam. What would you do? I would have Janmark on the 4th line. I would have Skinner playing with... I would put Skinner back with Henrique and Brown. I would do that. Then I'd go Janmark, Perry, Kapanen.
Yeah. I think so, because I don't think that top 6 is getting touched at all. But I almost think it might be time to push Podkolzin down. If he's not scoring, and he's not really doing too much offensively. And eventually it kind of gets to a point where it's okay, you actually need to produce in the top 6 if you're going to play there. But he's other than not scoring, he's obviously a really reliable player, like retrieving pucks back, get him to Draisaitl. So I can see why it stays there. I do think I would have Kasperi Kapanen or Jeff Skinner on that wing next to Henrique and Brown. I just don't think Janmark does enough to bring anything to that lineup. And I mean, especially probably safe to assume Derek Ryan is the one that comes out. So Janmark would probably go to the 4C. I just think Kapanen and Skinner are too offensively gifted to be played on the 4th line. I'm playing 8 minutes.
I'm on the wrong mic.
Oh, well, this is not good. I don't have anything else to say either.
Here's we got a comment here from, where was it? Y2 Bay. Rico needs to get going. Play him and Skinner with McDavid. I don't like putting 2 reclamation projects with Connor McDavid, but I could see the justification for one. The only issue with it is you're not pulling Zach Hyman off Connor McDavid's line, right? So if you're going to go, let's say it's Skinner with McDavid and Hyman, and then you go Pods, Dry, Arvidsson, then you're going Henrique with Nuge and Connor Brown. How confident are you that line can do a whole lot, right?
What was it? Sorry, Nuge, Henrique, and Connor Brown?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have Nuge and Henrique on the same line. I think you could maybe make Nuge your 3rd line center and then maybe go Skinner, Nuge, and Connor Brown or something like that. And I would just, you bump Henrique up or into the second. Maybe you could even put him on the 2nd line and give Podkolzin a go on the top line. No, we just said push him down, but he did do well that game. A couple of games he played with McDavid. It's interesting. The Oilers have a lot of options, and ultimately, I think they will be fine whichever avenue they choose to go. But those 3 right wingers, Arvidsson has done really well since coming back from injury. Connor Brown is doing great right now too. Actually, everyone on that right side is kind of where the offense is coming from outside of McDavid and Draisaitl, no?
Yeah, pretty much. I do like that you brought up Connor Brown, 8 points in his last 8 games. Hey, I know our boy NHL Sid had a tweet being like, hey, he's finally becoming the player Edmonton saw when they gave him that contract with the big $3.25 million bonus. So, yeah, good to see Connor Brown starting to step up again, getting more. And I it's not even about getting consistent offense from the bottom 6. That's gravy. They just can't get caved the way that they did over the weekend. That can't happen.
No, it can't happen, and I agree. They don't need to be producing every single night. There's gonna be nights where they do get caved like that. It's just kind of the nature of the beast, isn't it? When you're in the NHL, but I do think you can't just be like, okay, like it's just a one time thing. Like it probably does need a little bit of shaking up. And to be completely honest, a lot of the offense hasn't been flowing. To be like, like they've gone to overtime 3 of the last 5 games. They really need to find a way to produce way more within the 60 minutes. And they had 10 shots going into the third period against the Anaheim Ducks. I know it was a lull game, but at the end of the day, like somebody should have stepped up. And it's kind of in those moments when the stars aren't going, maybe you do need a bottom 6 guy to get going. And it just didn't happen. So yeah, I'm very curious to see what these lines will be.
Mm-hmm.
You can guarantee it'll just be Skinner, Yaremchuk, and Perry on the fourth line or something like
that. Probably. We'll get clarification on that, obviously, when the team takes to the ice for warm-ups later tonight. Warm-ups begin in 6 hours. Let's get to the lineup tonight for the Utah Hockey Club. Barrett Hayton centers the top line for Utah. Clayton Keller, Nick Schmaltz on his wing. Clayton Keller, 14 points in his last 10 games. He is on a run. A couple of other guys who are point per game or better in their last 10 are Logan Cooley and Dylan Gunther. They're on the second line with Jack McBain. The third line is Nick Bukestad, Lawson Krause, and on the left side, it's Mattias Maccelli, the most Italian-sounding Finnish hockey player you've ever known. All 3 of those guys pointless in their last 10, by the way. Kevin Stenlin with Michael Carsoni and Alex Kerfoot make up the fourth line. The D pairings are Sergachev and Valimaki, Ian Cole with Michael Kesselring, Oli Mata with Vladislav Kolyanchuk. We eventually got there. That's the lineup tonight for Utah, because again, this is a team that did play and lose last night out in Seattle. They are expected to be going with Jackson Stauber between the pipes. Liam, have you ever heard of one Jackson Stauber?
No, I have not.
Well, I don't blame you.
How do you spell that?
Stauber.
Okay, let's see what I can find on him here. He's 25 years old, from the state of Minnesota. He has played 9 NHL games. He played for the Providence College and also the Minnesota State University of Mankato. Undrafted player.
Undrafted. He's appeared in 3 games this season with Utah. All of them starts. He is 2-0-1 with a 1.96 goals against average and a .928 save percentage. Sounds to me like he is due for a bad game.
Yeah, he was actually a free agent this summer, and Utah signed him. This guy sounds like, to give him credit, has kind of grinded his way to this point of his career. So credit to him for that. And yeah, like you said, a .928 this season. Damn. It's not bad. It's not bad at all.
No. Again, he's passed every test. Even looking through his game logs here against Chicago, like he's been really good. And someone in the chat said, "Is that the son of Rob Stauber?" It is. Rob Stauber was an NHL goalie for a handful of years, actually. Oh, he's a team staff profile. We're learning so much about the Stauber family today, Liam.
This is good. Who did he work for?
He was Team USA's goalie coach, or no, Team USA's head coach for a couple of years.
World Junior team?
A world championship and an Olympic Games. All right.
Who's he coaching other than that? What the heck is going on?
He was the goaltending coach at the University of Minnesota, and then he jumped to Team USA's bench for the 2014 OG on Elite Prospects means Olympic Games, right?
Oh, Women's Olympics.
There we go. Now we've cracked the code. Yes, he was the head coach of the women's Olympic team for and he was an NHL goalie. All right. We learned a lot about him today. Shout out Jackson Stauber.
There is so if you go on Elite Prospects, sometimes it has like the family members on there. There's a lot of family members.
Really?
There's a ton of cousins. The Serotonin family. This is a big family tree.
Breaking down Jackson Stauber's family tree. Yeah, he's got a ton of cousins who have Elite Prospects pages.
They must have a busy Christmas.
Probably. Okay, we got a Sherwood Ford Giant question really quickly, and then we're going to bring on Jay. Shout out to our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant. It is a Sherwood Ford Giant game day for you. Hockey fans helping hockey fans. And how about the Nation Valet Service? They come pick you up, pick up your vehicle, drive your vehicle over to the dealership, get any work done. Boom. zip it right back to you. You never have to visit the dealership again for your routine car maintenance. And right now, if you're a nation citizen and you go to Sherwood Ford the Giant, purchase a vehicle, and you're going to get $500 towards a service plan just for being a nation citizen. And we will get to our Sherwood Ford Giant question in a second, but joining us from a vehicle that was purchased at Sherwood Ford the Giant is our guy Jay. A little car appearance for you today.
I am rolling in a 2024 Ford Expedition.
Oh, you're not in the Nation Bronco.
I'm not in the Nation Bronco. I am I got to wheel Crawford around today. So the Expedition is the child-friendly vehicle of the two. So baby seat in the back. We got a big afternoon of sledding ahead of us.
Ooh, getting that GT snow racer out and on the hills. I like it. Let me throw you our Sherwood Ford Giant question. I'll throw it to everybody in the YouTube chat as well. Would love to get some other opinions on it from the people watching the show. Give me your Edmonton Oilers New Year's resolution. It can be for you. It can be for what you want to see from the team, like yourself as a fan, or what you want to see on the ice. Whatever. Mine, Jay, I'll go first to give you guys each a little bit of time to think about this. Very simple, get meaner. I talked about this yesterday when we had Louis on the show, Liam, but I want to see this team start to throw around bodies and scrums a little bit, I want them to be assholes a little bit in the sense of mean to play against, but also when you go up against a bad team, beat the shit out of them. Rub it in a little bit. Go strut around like you're the Edmonton Oilers, like you're the number one team in the NHL. The other day against Anaheim, that should have been an 8-1 victory if they kept the pedal to the floor. Frustrated that they didn't. In the new year, I want them to beat the shit out of every team they play, both literally and figuratively.
So physically?
Physically and on the scoreboard. Just get meaner.
So then my wish, my New Year's wish to join that is to name a player that we should get that Liam's mentioned a few times out of Columbus.
Mathieu Olivier.
We get Mathieu Olivier, and that solves a lot of things because the question that I need to ask to your resolution, Tyler, is who's going to do that?
I would like the guys in the room to do it, quite honestly. Corey Perry, can he be a bit more of a prick? Matthias Janmark is the only guy who consistently goes into scrums and acts mean. I think Ekholm can be meaner. I'd like Leon Draisaitl to be a bit more of a prick after the whistle. It's even just standing up for each other. Liam, I remember that clip we've talked about so many times of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Andrei Vasilevsky gets bumped. Wasn't a dirty play. All 5 guys on the ice stopped paying attention to whatever was going on and went and beat the hell out of that guy. And when Matthias Ekholm got ran from behind by Jack Eichel, the Oilers stood there and were like, yeah, what? You going to get? I'm not going to get him. Did the refs call it? Just go beat the hell out of him.
Pack mentality.
Yeah. Liam, you got a New Year's resolution for the team or for yourself?
I do. I would like them to, I don't even know if it's a resolution, but I would like them to continue their aggressive approach on the market. Obviously July 1st, maybe it hasn't gone as planned with some of the additions like a Jeff Skinner, but at least they went out and tried to make the improvements and took some swings at guys. When the deadline comes this year, I don't want them to just go and get a bottom 6 forward and a top 6 defenseman, go out and actually make some big impactful addition, bring in some big impactful additions to the lineup. So that'd be my New Year's resolution.
Well, mine, I've been commenting to yours, and I would agree with that. Big, the time is now. So all in, big, tread to line. I'm with you. But my resolution, on top of all the great things the two of you just said, how about above 900 goaltending?
They have one. Is Colin Pickett still over?
That would be nice, and probably give us a few more dubs in the column, and put us higher in the standings. So yeah, just very basic. It's not a big ask for 900 goaltending in this league.
That is
Calvin
league
Pickett is now dropped under 900, 898. Stuart Skinner, 907 in the month of December.
Stop it, Liam.
Stop it.
I'm picking my own facts.
Cherry picking right
now. Okay, the other reason Jay is here is for our game day betting challenge. Let's get to it for our friends at Bet365. Download the app today. Use the promo code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Jay, I am taking a page out of your playbook today, And I am taking a bases-loaded grand slam kind of swing on this hockey game. I believe the Edmonton Oilers are going to bounce back and win this thing. I'm going puck line. I'm going McDavid 2 points, Draisaitl 2 points, Hyman goal, and over 4.5 for the Oilers. Plus 900, 9-1. Let's go.
You and I were kind of thinking the same way, but I didn't go as big as you because I think my parlay has 3 of those elements. But if there's a time to go big, it's New Year's Eve at home against Utah.
Yeah, some good New Year's Eve fireworks. Liam, your bet's next. What do you got?
Zach Hyman goal. He just keeps scoring at home.
I went from midnight to 6 there.
Well, it'll be a hit, and I'm still leading, and this will push me over 10 units on the season and the year on a high. Hyman, doesn't he have a home goal in like 6 straight games? Last year, he was going for that Gretzky record, and I think it's 8 games that he has to get to in a row. So I think he's chasing it right now, and he didn't score over the weekend, so I think he'll get back on the rails.
It's in my parlay.
Plus 160 is a great price.
It is for a guy like that.
I don't disagree with the selection, but this is a time to celebrate and go, a little bit bigger and out of your comfort zone, Liam. The one game of the year.
I did go out of my comfort zone. Usually it's just Draisaitl goal. I went crazy tonight. I went Hyman.
So I've got my parlay outside of this. I'm having some fun with Connor 2+ goals and Leon 2+ goals tonight. One of them showing up big time on the score sheet goals wise. So I had a hedge and pick both of them. But my bet is Oilers puck line. So riding with Tyler. Was debating the 2.5 after real life with you, but pulled back over 4.5 goals and Connor 2+ points. I just think he wasn't happy with how the weekend went, and he didn't necessarily put up a lot of points. And I think he wants to win the scoring race. So it's games like tonight that he's got to show up and put up 3+ to make up some ground. So it's only plus 300, which is kind of annoyed me, but I'm riding with it and I'm going big on it.
I don't mind that at all. We are both very similar tonight. If Liam's bet hits and your bet hits, that pretty much means my bet has hit as well. So I've got myself in a really good spot here to stay in the mix on the challenge. Jay, Happy New Year. Thanks for popping on quickly. Enjoy sledding.
Happy New Year, everyone.
There
Bye,
you go.
Jay.
Away goes Jay, who was maybe underwater for portions of that segment. Jay, he's gone now, so I feel like we can talk shit about him. For a guy who's on his AirPods as much as he is constantly on a call. 24. His whole life is a phone call. His AirPods work worse than anybody I know.
They're not the best, but you could. I think after the first 3 words, it cleared up, which was quite interesting. So there's some people commenting about our New Year's Eve resolutions, Tyler, or New Year resolutions. So there's one here, D White, which I don't disagree with. He said aggressive is good, but it's more important to make good decisions. Jeff Skinner, Adam Henrique, and Victor Arvidsson cost us $10 million. They've combined for 31 points. They then followed it up by saying Holloway and Fogle have a cap hit of just over $5 million and have combined for 46 points. I think one thing to consider is they probably wouldn't have done that with the Oilers because the Oilers clearly didn't want them. You know what I mean?
I mean, I kind of get where you're coming from, but also there is a point to that. Like, keep players with upside versus veterans who are on the downswing of their careers. The Henrique McLeod one that I know people keep bringing up doesn't quite land the same way with me because I sit there and go, you got Matt Savoy. Like, you got to replace the player in your lineup, Adam Henrique. You are in win now mode. And I know people will look at the numbers McLeod maybe puts up in Buffalo, whatever. But Henrique can do the same job that McLeod was doing for you. Maybe not quite to that level, but when you factor in that you got Savoy in a piece for the future, he's on a great run with Bakersfield right now, by the way. I still would do that set of moves all over again. There was a mistake in sitting there and going, we want Arvidsson and Skinner before we take care of Holloway. Holloway had a good playoffs, man. Like, the fact they didn't want to reward that and didn't want to prioritize keeping him around, that is a mistake. And you can say that maybe he wouldn't have done it in Edmonton. Then that's a comment on the bad development of the team. If you can't take a first-round pick and turn him into a productive top 9 forward, and then the second he goes somewhere else, he is a productive top 9, top 6 forward, I'm not just going to sit there and shrug and be like, wow, you wouldn't have done it here because we suck at developing players. Like, no, get better at developing players then.
Yeah, that is definitely something the Oilers have not been good at over the last few years of getting players in the right roles. And even last year with Holloway, like there was a point where even like a month or two before they sent him to Bakefield, I was like, okay, enough is enough of this guy. Now, and it wasn't on Holloway; it was just the fact they weren't playing him at all. So, definitely something they have to get better at. But yeah, someone, for a couple of people put it in the chat too. I'm pretty sure Fogo wanted to also hit free agency and see what it was all about because he probably wanted a consistent top 6 role, which he was not going to get in Edmonton. And I do think Arvidsson will turn it around. He's actually been pretty good since coming back from injury.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, let's continue along with our keys to victory for Sherwood Power Sports and Marine, home of the $50 biweekly ATV. They can get you on a boat next summer for as low as $105 biweekly. They are hockey fans helping hockey fans with motorcycles, quads, e-bikes, and boats. They do it all at Sherwood Power Sports and Marine, located right in the heart of Sherwood Park, just down the road from Sherwood Ford the Giant. Here's my key to victory, Liam. Utah is 1-5 this year when they trail after the first period. They have trailed through 2 periods in 17 of their 36 games and have only come from behind twice in those 17 games. If you look at their scoring by period, they are plus 10 in the first period and then minus 12 in the second period, even in the third period, and they are 5-4 in overtime. The point I'm making here, Utah comes out of the gates hot and then peters off a little bit. If you can come out and punch them in the mouth in the first 20 minutes, it might kill their will. They have shown time and time again they are not a team that has a good second period push. They are not a team that has a good third period push. If you can beat them in the first, you will win this game and you will win it handedly. That is my key to victory. What is yours?
Yeah, I was going to go something fairly similar. Like the Oilers did a terrible job of this last game, considering Lucas Dolstall was playing back-to-back games, back-to-back nights too. Sorry. You really have to just try and expose this goalie early. And you remember when we went on a nation vacation to Phoenix and the Coyotes at the time were playing that one goal. I can't remember his name, but it was like his first or second NHL game. And the Oilers scored like 2 goals in the first period. And they only ended up winning that game 4-2, but it did feel like it was kind of their game to win or lose. It was going to be dictated by them. I think they've just got to find a way tonight to make this Stauber guy uncomfortable as often as they can. And the special teams, I think, could become a bit irrelevant today because of how good Utah's penalty kill is. You have to beat them at 5-on-5, and I think early in the game, like you said, is the way to kind of go about and do that.
Yeah.
Get the fans involved. Like it's New Year's Eve, for crying out loud. People are going to want to cheer.
Totally. It should be rocking in there. One more thing. How about game day? Canada, USA tonight, New Year's Eve. Liam, you handled a little article for us over at the site. I know Oilers fans were looking at the World Juniors to begin, and it was like, hey, we got Bo Akey for Canada, Paul Fisher on Team USA, but neither of them have played a role with either of their teams.
No, Bo Akey has only played more than, so the most he's played is 15 minutes. But that was because Matthew Schaefer got injured in that game against Latvia, and they were kind of forced to do it. And I think that led many to believe that, okay, when they play Germany, however many days later that was, like, he'll get more of an elevated role. Well, actually, he only played 3 minutes and 1 second. So Akey is struggling to find a role, which I find very strange because in those minimal shifts that he's getting, he's actually looked pretty good. Obviously, he's an elite skater that can move the puck, and Canada is struggling to score goals. And for whatever reason, this coaching staff is just refusing to get their puck movers on the ice more often than not. I actually think, quite frankly, they're doing a terrible job of managing this team, which we also spoke about a little bit yesterday. And Paul Fisher on the U.S. side, admittedly, have not watched them as much, but he's kind of their 7th guy rotating in and out of not only games, but just in the lineup in general. He's not going to play tonight and has only played 2 games for the USA against Finland. And I think the other one was against Germany, but against Finland, his first shift did not come until 6 minutes into the second period. So he's also a guy on the outside looking in. But it should be a good game. At the end of the day, it's Canada USA on New Year's Eve in Ottawa. Like Canada should be getting up for this game and trying to win because they got a ton of talent. It should be quite exciting.
Someone said I'm nervous that the Oilers always seem to lose on New Year's Eve. I'm just going back and looking. They won 7-2 against Anaheim last New Year's Eve. They are 1-1-1 in their last 3 New Year's Eve games. They had a 2-1 loss to Winnipeg a couple of years ago, then an OT loss to the Devils. They beat the Rangers back in 2019 by a score of 7-5. So that puts them up to 2-1-1 on New Year's Eve. And if we want to make it a 5-game sample size, they did lose to the Jets. So 2-2-1 in their last 5 New Year's Eve games. So I would not say they always lose on New Year's Eve. I would also say they don't always get goalied by newbies. I just think you selectively remember certain things like that. So no, they're fine on New Year's Eve. They are also fine against new goalies. That is a trend too that just exists around the NHL. Florida got shut out by a new goalie the other day. Like sometimes there's just that random element of a guy in his first career game. So Canada USA at 5:30, Oilers at 7. Boardsy's going live with pre-gaming at 6 o'clock tonight right here on the Oilers Nation YouTube. So make sure you're subscribed so you can get the alerts. Tune in. Post game right after, and then they'll be ringing in the new year in Edmonton, and hopefully the Oilers ring it in with a victory. Shout out to our friend Cole Bagley. Shout out to Jay for swinging by as well. A Sherwood Ford Giant Game Day edition of the show. Check them out right in the heart of Sherwood Park. Plenty of reasons to make them your next dealership. Liam, enjoy your New Year's, buddy.
You too, Tyler.
All right, everybody in the chat, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in throughout 2024. 2025 will be just as much fun. Happy New Year, and of course, oil up.
Thank you for watching Oilers Nation Every Day. Hit the subscribe button to never miss a show. And for more, visit OilersNation.com.